Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Aparutade sangama tassa tavada e sodavanta bamunchantu satang. This afternoon we have this opportunity to reflect on the way it is. And many questions come up about consciousness. And because consciousness, in terms of the five khandhas, is impermanent. So notice that sense consciousness depends on eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, brain. It's not independent. If there wasn't the pure consciousness, there'd be no eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, brain. There'd be nothing. But it's through the immortal consciousness, the consciousness that has no beginning or end, that is behind the five khandhas. So the five khandhas, our bodies, the world we live in, the planet we live on, couldn't possibly exist. Now this is to be reflected upon, that what we call the real world is a conditioned realm. It's made up, it's artificial. It is not immortal, permanent, and it's changing according to conditions. For example, like yesterday, I came to this meeting in the temple, and we stopped and we looked at the new excavation of foundations for the Bhikkhu Vihara. It was all full of dirt and mounds of this and big machinery moving it around in a way, I couldn't quite understand. And then today, coming over, we looked at the ground, which was all just heaps of dirt and gravel, is all nice and flat. Change. But everything is impermanent. But pure consciousness is awareness. It's where it was never born and never dies. It's immortal, it's the deathless, it's the Amaravati. And how do we know that? Because we are conditioned through our education or through our cultural conditioning to rely on thinking as our respite for understanding life, to think about life. And we can get PhDs in Buddhist studies, and we can acquire all kinds of knowledge, review the Pali scriptures, the Tripitaka, and we're still thinking it's still artificial. So the Buddha was pointing the way to realize the deathless. Aparutade sangamatasa tawara means the gate to the deathless is open. And that inspired me from years ago when I was a very junior bhikkhu. That was like it wasn't put in terms of speculation. And as best you can do in words, it was a pronouncement. The gate to the deathless is open. And what does that mean in terms of your and my experience of life in these forms that we identify with? Is the gate to the deathless, can we see it? Can we smell it? Does it have a form? Does it look like a big gate or a little gate? Or, just the word gate is another artificial word, but it's a form it's open, the gate is open to within this existing lifetime that we're experiencing, for us to realize that. To realize is to open to reality. To realize the gate to the deathless is open for yourself, rather than just because the Buddha said that, it must be true. We trust it at first in words when we have faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and so the words are important, not to be dismissed, but they are words, and when we reflect on life, like this afternoon, this opportunity to reflect is to begin to notice the gate to the deathless is here and now. It's not the gate to Amaravati. So these words of the Buddha, as recorded in time in the Pali language, Sanskrit language, they're not meant to be grasped as teachings that we grasp hold of and believe in, but they're to be realized, each one for themselves. And Luang Por Sumedho is always emphasizing the Pali word bhajatang, to be realized for yourself. It's open, it's not something secret, it's not to be special just for certain spiritually inclined individuals, but it's open to everyone, and it was never actually closed. But the Buddha gave this inspiring talk because we don't notice the gate to the deathless because we are conditioned to be mindful of things. So for us, mindfulness means mindfulness when you cross the road to see there's no oncoming traffic, mindfulness while driving a car, mindfulness of the atmosphere that you're living in, mindfulness of all kinds of things through the senses. So mindfulness as a path to the deathless isn't just sensory awareness of objects, but what is behind the senses themselves. Because the senses themselves are very changeable, very impermanent, delicate forms of sankharas. Just notice how delicate your human body is. It's, it's so easily damaged. And we have warnings about pandemics and all kinds of gruesome forecasting of the future about climate change and hurricanes and tsunamis and on and on. We have all these words conveying this sense of the impermanent changing condition of phenomena. But what doesn't change? What is the deathless? And of course, it's obvious that we're all going to die. That's taken for granted. And we've been highly conditioned to see things in various belief systems. Like being brought up, myself, brought up as a Christian, all kinds of things were, one, when I was a child, I just accepted on belief because I was told this was the truth, this was reality. The Christian doctrines were to be not to be questioned, not to be criticized. So when one is a child, one doesn't know anything other than what you're getting from your parents and your cultural conditioning. You have no other reference. But as an adult, then we can question. And this is the whole point of the Buddha Dhamma. It's an investigation, it's a questioning, not a commitment to belief. So when the Buddha proclaimed the gate to the deathless is open, that's symbolic. Yes, it's very good symbolism. But it must mean more than just the words, and we must believe it because the Buddha said so. It's to be realized. Ben Bhajatang, it's to be realized individually through wisdom. So mindfulness through the senses is conditioned by culture, by religion, what's right and wrong, what's true and false, what's good and bad, what to believe, what not to believe. That's conditioning, cultural conditioning, education, religious dogma that when we're innocent, we don't know anything better, so we just accept it. But now we're adults, so we can question. If the gate to the deathless is open, where is it? What is the gate to the deathless here and now? And this is asking yourself these questions is important. Most obvious questioning. What is apparent here and now and timeless? And is that what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think? I mean, it's apparent here and now that we're in the temple at Amaravati, but that easily changes. And it's not timeless. So when we say the Dhamma, apparent here and now, is that eye consciousness or nose consciousness or things? is that might be apparent to individuals right now, but also that changes. How long can you sustain eye consciousness, concentration on an object, on a samatha type practice where you concentrate on an object that you're seeing or thinking? But vipassana meditation is really investigating, questioning, not just trying to develop new habits through the sensory world, but to realize Dhamma, Venbhajatang, it's to be realized individually through wisdom. So pure consciousness is wisdom. It's not a dumb state of like a zombie or some useless state that doesn't know right from wrong. Pure consciousness is behind right and wrong, is where right and wrong cease. But is right absolute? Can a condition be absolutely right or absolutely wrong? The conditions change. What we think changes. What we believe changes. What we feel changes. Sape sankhara anicca, all conditions are impermanent. And we reflect like this all the time in order to realize it for ourselves, because we trust the word of the Buddha. That's important. But just to believe the words is not the point of the Four Noble Truths or the Buddha's teaching. His teachings are actually signs pointing to the deathless reality that is apparent here and now, timeless. So in pure consciousness, that allows us to see things through wisdom, through the reality of change and impersonality, anatta, not self. We can believe in the concept of not self. But then you can get into arguments about self and non-self, and what do we mean by self? In terms of Theravada Buddhism, self always refers to the khandhas, the separate individual forms that we identify with and cling to. But beyond the clinging and identity with something so delicate and impermanent as a human body, we know that's going to die. We've known enlightened masters who passed away. We've known that the Buddha, in terms of the traditional Gautama Buddha of ancient India, died a physical death. That's recorded in history. They have memorial sites where the Buddha passed away in India. But Buddha is not really a person. It's a concept of awareness. And in the Thai forest tradition, they use this mantra, Puto, using the Buddha's name as a mantra. And a mantra can be just mechanical. We can easily, it's a two-syllable word, easy to remember. But it's important to realize Buddha knows Dhamma, and so awareness is Buddha knowing Dhamma the way it is. All conditions are permanent. There is no permanent separate self. So even if right and wrong, good and bad, heaven and hell, God and the devil cease, what doesn't cease is pure consciousness. We call that Dhamma, ultimate reality, absolute truth, apparent here and now and timeless. I repeat this over and over just to stimulate this kind of interest. Why are you here? Why do you come to Amaravati? Why do you ordain as monks or nuns? What's the point of it? Just to follow some belief system and be conditioned as a Theravadan Buddhist? Is that good enough, or is that generating more delusions about which is the best form of Buddhism? Is Mahayana Buddhism better than Hinayana Buddhism? And I don't like that. As long as we're Buddhists, we form opinions according to the way we've been conditioned. We've been told Mahayana is a greater form of, more elaborate form, more wise form of Buddhism, and that Hinayana or Theravada is a lesser form of Buddhism. That's conditioning by others, and whatever tradition you're identified with, whatever you're being told is absolutely true is not. Except the gate to the deathless is open. Aparuta de sangamatasa karara ye sodavanta. Those who hear this, trust in the awareness that you actually are, rather than in the changing conditions of your form, your sensory experiences, your social, cultural, religious conditioning. Silence is what I've experienced as my refuge. I remember when I was a samanera in Nong Khai, before I met Luang Por Cha, I had this insight that I had to stop thinking. And it seemed like, something, and I'm a well-educated person, and I've spent a lot of years thinking about everything. So I tried to stop thinking, and I couldn't do it. The more I tried to stop thinking through just effort, I had moments where I could hold my breath, but you can't sustain that. But in my Samanera year, I did experience silence. what I call sound of silence, which I assumed was impermanent, because all conditions are impermanent, and so I didn't question that. So I believed that all conditions are impermanent, and sound of silence that I was aware of was impermanent. I just immediately adopted the view that all conditions are impermanent. So I saw it as a condition. I saw it as a condition that would come and go. But the more I meditated, and I was alone in this kuti for a year, I began to realize that the silence is here and now. And it doesn't come and go. My attention on it comes and goes. Whether I'm aware of it or not comes and goes. But it doesn't come and go. So what is it? It couldn't be a sankhara, according to the word of the Buddha, because it is here and now, and it doesn't have a beginning or ending. What am I to call it? What am I to call that silence, that resonating silence? So through further investigation, training with Luang Por Cha, and the years in Thailand and here in England, I realized that this is the unborn consciousness. Which has no beginning or ending. So then I had insight into developing that, to concentrate, to pay attention to the silence between words, the silence between thoughts. And through that, then the silence became natural to me. Like now, to be silent, I don't have to think about finding it. It's here and now and apparent. So silence is something that is not a thing. It's the background of everything. So then, because I have a curious nature, then I wanted to name it. I wanted to qualify it according to Dhamma language, Pali language, verify it, have other monks, senior monks, have Luang Por Cha verify it. But I began to see that the ego doesn't really trust reality itself. We're so conditioned, so bound to the delusions of our bodies and conditioning that we doubt things. Am I right? Am I deluded? Is this the reality itself? Is this Dhamma, or am I just making it up or kidding myself, or am I deluded? And then I realized that's thinking. The thought, to question myself, am I deluded? I had to think, I am a person who might be deluded. By relinquishing all those thoughts about myself being anything, by letting go of absolutely everything, then the silence is just natural. It's not created out of anything. It's behind everything. And instead of seeing it as boring, one begins to realize it is the bliss of Dhamma. Dhamma is bliss. that is apparent here and now and timeless. So learn to trust insight into things. Don't trust your delusions, what you've been told is right and wrong or believe in, but find out for yourself. Have the integrity, the determination, the resolution to realize Dhamma for yourself. The gate to the deathless is open. Those listening, trust this. Trust this, the gate. What is it here and now? So like in formal meditation practices, there's all kinds of techniques and views about proper meditation. So meditation is a word in English that covers all kinds of mental activities. Vipassana, the actual Pali word vipassana, is to investigate the four foundations of mindfulness. All these basic teachings are to be used, not to be grasped. And so it's like an empowerment given by the Buddha 2,565 years ago to human individuals to realize they're not just what they've been told or what they believe in or just a physical form in a vast universe of forms. So where right and wrong vanish in the silence, there's no right or wrong, good or bad, male or female. But it's where wisdom as individual human beings can operate through these individual forms. It's where wisdom manages to guide the rest of our lives to do good, refrain from doing bad. Tam di dai di, tam chua dai chua. It's where you get the perspective, the silence behind the forms. Is universal, not personal. It's where all prejudices, biases disappear, where gender problems vanish, or racial discrimination vanishes. So you can see the importance of this realization that it's not just a nice thing to do on a sunny day, but it's an opportunity to realize Dhamma for yourself, to be free from delusion and illusions that are created through ignorance, through belief in personal identities, personal views, cultural identities, religious identities. So after, this is my 60th pansa, I think, after 60 years, my friend from the Peace Corps was in contacting, and I haven't seen her for many years. So I contacted her and I said, I've been 60, this is my 60th year as a bhikkhu, and I'm a much better person than when I was 60 years ago. Maybe that's boasting. But 60 years, I didn't know this. 60 years ago, I didn't know who I was. Thought I was all kinds of things. And you have a critical mind, you can turn it inward on yourself. And every mistake, every flaw, every kind of condition that you experience affects you emotionally, whether somebody smiles at you or frowns at you or congratulates you or criticizes you. This is samsara. You're in a den of frightening experiences. You're kind of vulnerable to all kinds of influences and conditions that you have no ability to control. So as an individual person, I'm very fortunate as an individual person being an old monk in Amaravati, because it's a very nice place to be when you're 92. I have excellent care and good atmosphere to live in. And I really love this life. And I'm incredibly grateful to Ajahn Sumedho and the monks here who have put so much effort into helping me, supporting me. But I'm not really this form. It's just a convention. It's a conventional reality that one lives with till it passes away. So when you're in your 90s, it's called being a nonagenarian. I'm in my 10th decade of life as far as the body goes. But what I've accomplished in this life through these teachings of the Buddha, through teachers like Luang Por, who pointed the way and so clearly, so helpfully, so encouragingly. I just feel incredible, like lucky individual who somehow had the good fortune to come across Buddhism, Buddha Dhamma, Thai Buddhism, Luang Por. When I reflect on the news of the day, how many people, they talk about all the people that die in the BBC World Service just through drones and wars and pandemics. And the climate is changing. And how can we stop it changing? How can we do to make it stop changing as individuals? Can any of us, no matter how wise or enlightened we might be, stop climate change? But we can abide in Dhamma, which doesn't change. It's apparent here and now and timeless. And that's where the abode of the enlightened ones are, is not in some kind of special heaven up in the sky, but in the ultimate Dhamma, the silence behind the sounds, behind the creations that we strongly been told are ourselves, our separate selves. So I offer this as a reflection for this afternoon.